Wasted World of Sports, ahoy! How are we doing? Gamer Mel, nice to see you out there in the chat room. Whoa, hang on. Echo. Gamer Mel, nice to see you out there. I've got myself on as well. Will, nice to see you there. UFC only fams, ahoy. So, welcome along. We're trying something a little bit new tonight, as the channel is now monetized. As you know, last weekend was our very first lot of streams with monetization properly enabled. So thank you to everybody who, you can see the list down the side there of the most recent channel members and donators. So thank you very much to each and every one of you. Vobsy, ahoy there, mate. And even if you haven't donated, people like Vobsy and Will, who have been long-time subscribers, and Jason Bourne as well, long-time subscribers, supporting anyway. Just by being here is support enough. I feel like that's worth a shout out as well. So, what exactly is happening here this evening? We are going to start a brand new thing on the back of monetization. More sort of support, more sort of, I don't really know what the word is, but I feel justified now. We've got the channel to the stage that it is. Robert M, ahoy there, welcome along. The channel's grown to the point where it is. I feel like it's justifiable to have some extra content now. And Intoxidad was a little bit of a hit at the State of Origin. Yeah, whether he realised it or not, he was a bit of a hit at the State of Origin streams. So I thought, since Dad and I get together and just talk about sports in general, but primarily rugby league anyway, why not bring him onto the show and get him more involved? And he said yes, so I'm going to step aside momentarily. We're going to have a little getting to know you segment for about 5 or so minutes, because we can't keep calling you Intoxidad. And I don't think that UFC likes to call me Daddy Cash, and so I see that he's already affectionately labelled you Granddaddy Cash.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, so
okay.
We probably don't we don't necessarily want that to stick, and we can't keep calling you Intoxidad. So let's get to know a little bit more about the man behind the drunken idiot that brings you rugby league streams each and every weekend. What do you say? Nice to see you back again, Robert M, by the way. Cheers, mate. I was catching up to you in the Wasted World of Sports tipping contest, but then the Bulldogs let me down and I've fallen right off the radar. But anyways, over to Intoxidad. What would you like us to call you?
Well, I think something like Old Panther would be pretty good, wouldn't
Panther.
it?
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate. Yeah.
He's gone.
That's where it all started.
Mm.
Well, for me anyway, it all started back in '68. So it wasn't so very long ago. And been with them pretty much ever since.
Them being the Panthers, of course.
The mighty Penrith Panthers. And I tell you, I recently discovered a brand new Facebook page, from Chocolate Soldiers to the Black Magic, and they've helped me out with some information on times past. Because Penrith weren't always the Black Magic. They used to be the Chocolate Soldiers, brown and white. And before that, before they got into the top grade, they were actually blue and white. But things have changed over the years in terms of colours. They weren't allowed to take the blue and white into the top competition because it clashed too much with Newtown, who were all royal blue, and Canterbury Bankstown, who were also blue and white. So
Boo.
Penrith had to change. Yeah. And but anyway, I've come to love the brown and whites. But I've loved the Black Magic as well. And that picture there, that's actually in their old blue and white outfit from 1966.
Yep. So the black areas would have been blue, I'm assuming.
Yes, and white, of course. And of course, and the reason they went to brown and white was because they were introduced into the top competition at a late stage in proceedings. They had to fight against Wentworthville to get into the top grade, and so Cronulla was already admitted into the top grade, and they had already changed their colours to the sky blue that they have. So Penrith took their Cronulla's old brown and gold and dropped the gold and made it white. So that's how they came to be brown and white. A little bit of history for
yeah. Oh, that's good. So you times were very different back then, of course, in terms of actually getting to check out the games. So you did most of your rugby league listening via the radio. Is that correct?
That's correct. Back in those days, yeah, you used to have to skip through the dial, the radio dial, try and find a game to have a listen to, and it just happened that one Saturday in July, I was looking for a game to have a listen to, and it turned out to be Souths versus Penrith. And back in those days, Souths were the big team. They, from 67 to 71, they won 4 of the 5 premierships, and Souths beat Penrith 19 points to 13 in that game. And I thought, gee, this Penrith side, they're going to be something big in the future. Not realising that I'd have to wait then until 1991 for a premiership, but still.
But
that's
now,
when I started.
Look at them all now, though.
Absolutely, yeah. They don't refer to them as the chocolate soldiers. Part of the reason was that they used to melt under pressure. You see.
So it was but that was it. Still had something to do with the brown, right?
Yeah, but that was a derogatory term back in them days.
Obviously.
Yeah. Frank Hyde apparently initiated it. The chocolate soldiers reckoned they didn't melt under pressure, but it didn't take long before that changed. Of course, supporters of other teams tend to make derogatory remarks about teams, don't they?
Hey, just spend a weekend on Wasted Water Sports, and my most hated teams change from week to week and from season to season, don't they, Captain Redbeard? poor Captain Redbeard there, Patreon member. He had to put up with so much derogatory talk from me last season about his beloved North Queensland Cowboys, calling them the Olympic divers.
Yeah, well, they're pretty good at it, aren't they?
Well, they were last year. I can't help but notice they stopped doing it this season. I wonder if that's why maybe they're down the ladder a little bit.
Yeah, that's possible.
Of course, naturally, it's all in jest.
Well, unless they're playing Penrith, then it's serious.
There you go. Yeah. So, there is a little bit of information about the what was it? The Panther, the Black Panther, the Old Panther.
Yeah,
the Old Panther.
The Old Panther. Yeah.
The Old Panther. Robin M is the young Bronco, apparently, in the chat room there. Hey, Old Panther. If you're Old Panther, I'm young Bronco.
There you go.
Says Robin M. Now I know that we'll try and keep it as brief as possible tonight, but not so short that it's completely pointless, because I know that a lot of people will be getting ready for the Matildas game later on, and our dinner's also on the way. But so we don't want to run too long, but we'll also try and cover off enough topics. If you've got anything you'd like to ask, feel free to do so in the chat room. We're open to suggestions. This is a brand new thing that we're trying to do here, and we don't really have a set game plan. We're just going to watch this evolve.
There you go. Somebody wants to know who would have called the games. Back when you did share that with me, didn't you? Frank Hyde. He was.
Oh, Frank Hyde was the caller.
He was famous for when they were taking goal kicks for saying it's long enough, it's high enough, and it's straight between the posts. That was his call sign. And back in those days, he used to be on Channel 7, Rex Mossop. And on Channel 9, I'd have to think about the Channel 9 one. I remember I did write him a critical letter once because I was upset with something he said. Yeah, in my teen years. But back in those days, like, there was only 12 teams in the competition, and there weren't the television rights that they have now.
Oh.
In fact, I can remember that it was a big deal. Channel 9, I think it was, used to telecast the second half of a game live on Sundays.
Yeah, this is actually good because it leads me in sort of to what we want to talk about next, in a way, and it will make sense when we actually get there. I'll just change things up a little bit to get us there. So one of the big news stories to come out at the moment is, of course, the Las Vegas trip, where the Broncos, the Roosters, the Rabbitohs, and Manly are being sent over to Las Vegas, and sending 4 rugby league teams on a weekend bender to Las Vegas. What could possibly go wrong off the field in that scenario?
Well, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Stays in Vegas, apparently, yes.
So
That's what they say.
I think they'll be safe.
But I found, we were discussing earlier about the state of origin. Now, that was probably the last time that the rugby leagues tried anything over in the US, I'm gathering, maybe apart from a sevens tournament or something. I believe there might have been some form of Super Sevens tournament, rings a bell, but it was not the top flight stuff. Like, none of the NRL players participated in that. I could be wrong about that. Rugby Union have dived into there. The All Blacks have had a game over in the US, Chicago, I believe they played. But it was interesting because I dug up some footage, and credit goes to Sam. I forget the channel name, but the channel name, the logo will pop up over the video. So check this out. I found some old footage, and this just goes back to when the games used to be shown on the TV. You used to get the little segment saying if you didn't want any spoilers or anything like that. Just check it out anyway. See if this brings back any memories for anybody. The news telecast of the state of origin over in America.
We're about to show the score, so if you don't want to know, it's time to close your eyes.
Big win for New South Wales. They're in Los Angeles.
And now, without giving anything away, here's Mike Gibson reporting from California.
How young does old mate look? There we go, 728-761.
It was already clear that Rugby League's first American match was going to get strong support. After fears by promoters that they wouldn't fill this stadium, it was gratifying to see old and new league fans joining the queues. The Aussies who turned out, and many of the Americans, had their clear favourites. The Maroons' locker room and a rather quiet pre-game mood. Next door, the Blues were being taped and conditioned. Out on the field, it was a mixture of league and gridiron spirit. This crowd even cheered a banner that didn't perform. It seemed like home as the teams took the field and the action began.
I miss those old banners. People always getting caught in them.
It was quickly clear that the Americans have really enjoyed the league brand of non-stop action.
There is no law in the action.
You like it better than American football?
I can't say it better than, but I like it a lot. It's awesome, man. I can't believe it. It makes football look like a John Denver concert.
And none of league's newest fans seemed to mind when 3 of Southern California's Suns bared themselves and streaked at half-time. And when it was over, an unusual sight, with these competitive rival sides coming together to salute the crowd. So a big night for everybody here at Long Beach tonight, except unfortunately for Manly prop Phil Daly, who may have suffered a broken jaw. But the Americans, they loved their first taste of rugby league Australian style. And don't forget, we'll be back here on 9 with a full replay of tonight's game from 8:30.
For some of those players, there'll be a rush trip back to play.
How good was that?
Excellent. Hey,
Now-
New South Wales won.
And New South Wales won, so that's how you know it was a while ago. But I found it interesting that now that you don't even see the streakers on the field during the live broadcast, they cut the cameras away. They were getting news time back in the day.
Yeah, well, if you've got a point to prove, you've got to do something to attract attention, I guess.
Oh, I wonder what their point was. I've had too many drinks.
Maybe so.
Vopsy says that was the era Matt Lodge should have been playing in.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'd get away with it there.
Well, here's, speaking of getting away with stuff, this guy didn't get away with it. Have you seen this? I'll see if I can bring this up quickly. So this happened in, GC, I should have written this down, but it was in the New South Wales Rugby League lower divisions anyway. And this was pretty blatant. So we're looking for one of the guys in yellow. Not only does he come in he comes in looking for the elbow, He goes in again,
Yeah.
and then he goes in again.
Fair income. Yeah.
Safe to say he was immediately marched from the field.
Yeah.
He was immediately sent off there. Blake Lyons, Kanye Ketchup, ahoy there, welcome along. Maybe he slipped over. Well, maybe the first time, but I can't say the second time.
No.
Maybe the second time was a gust of wind. And then the third time, he was just going in to say sorry and misplaced it.
Yeah, well, that's what I like about you, Dan. You look for the good in people.
Only when I want to. Blake Lyons says, what teams are you going to play in Las Vegas? So the teams going over are the Broncos, of course, because why wouldn't they? I'm actually surprised, though, to be honest, that the Broncos are getting the Las Vegas thing.
Yeah.
Well, I actually would have thought that the only sensible thing that the NRL would do to look after the Broncos and the expansion of the international game, I thought for sure they would have flown the entirety of Las Vegas over to Suncorp.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
That makes sense, yeah.
I mean, it just,
in the
I
scheme
can't,
of things.
yeah. I mean, I'm struggling with the fact that they are giving the Broncos such an away game. But anyway, the Broncos, I think they said it's going to be Broncos versus Roosters and Souths versus Manly. I believe. But we know for certain that those four teams are the ones going over. I don't think the Sharks ever stood a chance of being invited. I'm surprised the Broncos... I'm surprised the Panthers didn't get invited, but then Panthers supporters, and you can speak for Panthers supporters, quite happy about that.
Well, in my opinion, I think it's a good move to not go. If these are official NRL first round games, are they? Or are they just exhibition games?
That I don't know.
But in any case, I think they'd prefer not to have the distraction. And that's my point of view anyway.
Round 0 or something weird. Yeah, I'm not sure at all.
We'll have to check that out.
Yeah, we'll have to suss that out for next time. Kanye Ketchup says he was a Raiders fan before the Warriors team came into the league. I remember the Warriors coming into the league. I had sort of adopted them as my second team at the time, because the Sharks were going through one of their low periods, I think. One of their many, many low periods. So I'm like, who am I going to go for? And I haven't fared too much better by having the Warriors. It's a curse for me to go for your team. That's why I'm surprised the Panthers are still doing so well, because I've kind of latched on as my second team there.
Well, you're not going to the games. I remember when you were a young bloke, you stopped going to the games.
Yep.
You wouldn't let me take you to Cronulla because as soon as you turned up, they lost.
Yes, well, I can say with 99% certainty, and I was having this chat not long ago with a mate of mine who's also a Shark supporter. I can say with 99% certainty that I've never. I think that's our dinner. I can say with 99% certainty I've never seen the Sharks win a game at Suncorp. That includes against the Broncos. That includes Magic Round. And I mean, they got smashed in Magic Round this year against the Dolphins. I mean, the game was over after the first 20 minutes that day. So I have never, growing up, living in Brisbane, seen my Sharks win at Suncorp Stadium. I think they came close a couple of times, but no, they are much better off if I don't go. That's for sure.
Well, that's it's just one of those things, isn't it? You've got to take the good with the bad if you're going to follow a team.
Yep.
And I think that's why Penrith supporters are so strong now. The older generation anyway, because of the bad times we went through in the lead up to these good times.
Speaking of good times for Panthers.
Yeah. It's been good times the last few years.
Is anybody going to beat the Panthers this season?
Yeah, look, once you hit the finals, once you hit the playoffs, it's a different competition. You hear that all the time, and people are talking up the Broncos at the moment, but I don't know. I don't think so. I think the teams that could challenge Penrith, I think, would be the Storm because of their experience. But
Souths?
beyond, well, if they can get there,
if they get in,
Yeah.
I would be very concerned about Souths in that.
yeah. But we can always rely on Cody Walker to throw an intercept pass or something, and that would help. So that wouldn't be so much of a problem. Yeah. But I think
Whoops.
the Broncos. I don't think in the lead up to the playoffs, I don't think that the coaches want easy games.
No, well, that's kind of how the Sharks got dumped out so easily last season. Well, apart from the fact they suck, but they had a fairly easy run into the finals. So I've gone and done my predicted top 8. I think the top 4 is pretty well locked in.
Yep.
5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 could end up absolutely anywhere.
Yep.
Really. So, but they say that you can't win the competition from outside the top 4. That's what they reckon.
So they say.
You can't win the competition, or nobody has won the competition if you've had 50 put on you in the regular rounds. That's never happened before, apparently. Not in the NRL era.
All right.
So that rules out the Sharks. That rules out the Raiders. That rules out. Not sure about the Rabbitohs.
No, Penrith didn't beat them by that much this year.
Cowboys, I think, got spanked by the Tigers. I'm not sure if it was by 50.
It was a big score, wasn't it?
It was a massive score.
Yeah.
I remember that. So
Yeah,
potentially we're ruling out everybody outside the top 4 anyway.
probably. Yeah.
What?
The Warriors could they could be a dark horse, couldn't they? Because they've got a pretty good coach there that learned his trade at Penrith in one way, didn't he?
The whole competition is turning into Penrith, not castaways, but Penrith moving on for opportunity or just being poached.
Well, that was the idea of the salary cap, wasn't it? When
Yes.
they brought that in, try and spread the talent across the clubs.
That'd be an interesting point of topic to have one time, is the salary cap.
And the different things they've tried over the
Yeah,
years.
a deep dive into the salary cap. Because somebody, I can't remember who it was, but somebody said the salary cap, any salary cap, won't work without a draft system in behind it. And he reckons that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the salary cap isn't really working because it's always the same teams in and around the top spots for the most part.
The Rugby League wanted to bring in a player draft, but the Players Association objected and challenged in court that it was a restraint of trade to make players go, somewhere where they didn't want to go necessarily. Yeah. So they have wanted to bring in the player draft, but then the salary cap became the thing that they tried. And there's been other things they've tried over the years, which we can have a talk about.
Yeah. Did you see Tino signing his life away to the Titans? I did see that. And Payne Haas has just signed a big deal with the Broncos. So the Broncos, should they not win the premiership this year or next, which I don't think they will, not this year anyway, then they're going to be feeling the salary cap squeeze. Because, they've got one of the cheapest spines in the whole league at the moment. And continued success, whether they win the premiership or not, they keep finishing up towards the top of the table. They're going to demand more money. That's for certain. But anyways, that's just a rough predicted top 8. I honestly had no idea from 5th down to 9th. I'm probably being generous on the Raiders. The Raiders have ended up there because the Sharks have not beaten the Raiders out of the last 9 or 10 games in a row. So even though the Raiders did pretty poorly over the weekend, it's usually a given that they're going to beat the Sharks. I actually don't remember the Sharks beating the Raiders since the only time I remember specifically seeing it was the 2016 Finals Series. And the Raiders had them down and out that year, if memory serves me correctly. And it was a late comeback by the Sharks. And that was the year that Mick Innes did the mock of the Viking clap after full time, when the Sharks held on and won.
Okay.
And, yeah, there's footage of that somewhere. Mick Innes being cheeky and making fun of the Viking clap. So if this setup eventuated, you would have the Panthers playing the Storm in week 1 of the finals, which is probably not an ideal situation for anybody.
No.
And you've got the Broncos playing the Warriors at Suncorp. And as much as I've written the Broncos off, that Suncorp advantage is a thing. So they might actually just get a bit further than I'm giving them credit for because of that. Because I've written them off. I had them going out in straight sets. But I had also predicted from long back that the Storm would end up jumping the Warriors in the table, and you were going to have Broncos Storm at Suncorp in week 1 of the finals. It looks like that's not going to eventuate. So the Broncos may actually get further through than I'm giving them credit for. The rest of it, look, if the Sharks come up against the Rabbitohs in week 1 of the finals, I'm afraid that's it for them. The Rabbitohs, I don't think they're going to go down twice in the same season to the Sharkies. So if they get there, I think they'll be a legitimate threat. But outside of that, the Panthers get through that first game against the Storm unscathed, and it's theirs to lose. And it's easy for me to say that because I'm not a diehard Panthers supporter. I'm sure every year Panthers supporter. I remember last season, I was telling you pretty much from about round 6 all the way through to the grand final, all the way through, I said Panthers have got it. I'm not sure. See, you're allowed to be unsure because it's your team.
That's it.
I can tell it how it is. And of course what happened is Panthers just ran through the entire competition and won quite handily in the grand final, didn't they? Well, yes. I'm telling you, it's going to happen again.
Well, I hope you're right, because the form over the last few weeks has been good. Some people say patchy, but
yes,
we haven't had the top team in.
And I think it's patchy on purpose as well. All the great coaches will tell you, you don't waste it all out there in the lead up. Like you build, you hold something back. You always hold something back so that you've got that extra gear to go to. Yeah. And in my opinion, that's why I would be concerned about the Broncos at the moment, is because they are just blowing teams off the park. And I don't see where the Broncos' next gear comes from. Whether if they come up against a Souths on their day, a Panthers on their day, a Storm on their day, we know for a fact that those teams have got more in reserve.
Yes.
I feel like we're seeing the best of the best from the Broncos. This is the best that they can do. And that's where experience from the coach, experience from the players starts to come into it. They'll get better at that. They'll get better at building and going, okay, we could do this, but is it in our best interest to throw it all out there this early on?
Yeah.
So that's my opinion. That's why I'm not on board with the Broncos being a serious contender. If anyone's going to beat the Panthers, I agree with the Storm. Storm are always a threat because Craig Bellamy is a master coach.
Yep.
And I would also, I don't think they would necessarily win, but I'd also be a little bit concerned about the Rabbitohs. I wouldn't want to be coming up against the Rabbitohs if they manage to sneak in and click into gear. I wouldn't want to be up against that. And Vobsy, if the Roosters to make the 8 and create history by winning the comp from outside the 4, and Teddy retires a legend. I've been saying it all year. They pretty much have to win. I mean, they absolutely have to win every game. Starting with this weekend, they have to win every game from here on in to get there. But I think it is possible. I don't want to give you false hope. I don't want to jinx it. But it is possible. It's well and truly possible that they could still make it. There's still there's still a few games to go that could go either way. I think it's a big test. For example, this weekend with the Warriors-Manly game, Manly showed glimpses in that game against Penrith. Not that they were ever going to threaten to win, but the type of footy that they're capable of playing. And you just wonder, there were quite a few what-if moments in that game with the intercept. Like, why does Schuster kick that footy on tackle one after the intercept? Why does Ruben Garrick try and play foursome backs like he's playing rugby union and just opening up a counter attack that was easily done? So I've got the Panthers heads and tails above everybody else at the moment. As a matter of fact, the Panthers are a little bit like, have you seen that I think it's grade 6. I think it's a grade 6 kid playing the footy. He's like the little Jonah Lomu.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember do you remember Jonah Lomu's rugby, where you used to just hold the palm off button and you could just run through an entire team?
No.
Yeah. So
I've seen that.
There's this kid running around in the junior leagues at the moment.
Yeah.
Boof, boof. I mean, he's just toying with the other kids.
Yeah.
He purposely ran into that kid, and that one straight over the top of him.
The unfortunate thing about this is that kid won't learn how to play rugby league. He doesn't have to, does he?
No. No, and once he gets up a bit in the grades, all these kids start getting up to his size and beyond.
And quicker.
But at the moment, that kid's the Panthers.
You reckon?
and that's everybody else running in behind them trying to catch up.
Well,
they're that far ahead at the
we'll
moment.
see.
They are honestly that far ahead at the moment.
Well, it was interesting. I think it was Jerome Luai said the other day that the biggest threat to the Panthers is themselves.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Yeah. And that does sound like something he would say, which is fine. I don't know. I don't mean that in a bad way. But that's a future topic as well. We touched on it a little bit here tonight about the hard early days of the Panthers. They weren't always this successful, and probably why they're enjoying it the way that they are
Absolutely.
now. So, all right. So that was all the little topics and videos that I had ready to roll. If there's anything else from the chat room, we are more than happy to have a quick chat about it. Other than that, our dinner's arrived about 10 minutes ago. So we're going to go have our burgers, and you guys can all get ready for the Matildas game coming up. But yeah, we'll stick around and we'll answer any questions if you have any. Otherwise, we will fire up some topics for next week. If we go again next week, we might make it a bi-weekly thing, just to so that I keep my production days for the magazine free. But we'll see. We'll let you know anyway. If you enjoyed it, let us know. Hit that like button on YouTube so that we do know it's been enjoyed by all. And we'll catch you next time. But before we go, I've got to, even though he's not here, I'll play it again on the weekend, but I'll play it now for the benefit of everyone who's here.
Ahoy there, big Jason Bourne. Just want to give you a huge congratulations on your win. It's hard fought. You've worked hard for it. It's been a long year. And to finish on top of the table, it's huge. So congratulations, mate. I know you're a huge Eels supporter as well. And I want to say thank you so much for the support. But congratulations again, and go the Eels.
All right.
Good on you.
So, thank you very much once again. This is just a little something we're trying out. It will evolve over time. We'll get more clarity around the segments and everything like that. But hope you enjoyed this short and sweet debut episode. And we will catch you on the weekend for all the action. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do all the games like I did last weekend, but I will certainly try and do as many as possible because we do have some good ones coming up. Yeah. I mean, safe to say I will definitely be doing tomorrow night for the Sharks Cowboys because that's a massive game in the context of the Sharks season. Then Friday night footy, I will probably do both because I reckon this is a real potential banana skin for the Warriors. And the Eels, Roosters, Vobsy, Roosters, playing to keep history alive, basically. Yeah. Saturday, the Panthers are on Saturday.
I'll be down there to lend my coaching advice, of course.
Yeah, you've already been on the blower to Ivan.
Yeah.
So Tigers, Dolphins could be a cracker. The Tigers have come into some form and the Dolphins have fallen away a little bit.
Yeah.
So that could be a good game. Tigers are $1.34 favourites for that one.
Wow.
Could be an opportunity for a little sneaky trade on that one.
Yeah, wonder why? Well, is there some team changes in the Dolphins? Or?
No, the Dolphins are just sort of fallen away a little bit. I wouldn't have suggested that badly, but
I wouldn't have thought.
Let's see, who's out? The Hammer's out. Jeremy Marshall-King's out. Kenny Bromwich is out. Ray Stone's out. Okay, yeah, fair few outs.
Okay.
Robert Jennings coming back in couldn't make up for all those outs, apparently.
No.
Yeah, okay, so they've got some massive outs. Titans, Panthers, Saturday, Dragons, Storm. Only one game on Saturday. Oh, no, that's the third on Saturday, sorry. My apologies. Sunday, the Knights get another Sunday game. There you go. You've got a statistic about that, don't you?
Yeah, they haven't lost a Sunday game this year.
Knights versus the Rabbitohs. That could really put a dent in the Rabbitohs' finals hopes.
Could do.
If the Knights get the win. And Raiders, Bulldogs. And don't even talk to me about the Bulldogs for quite some time. CPTA Australia, g'day young man and the man in the bandana. I see what you did there, CPTA. G'day young man and the man in the bandana.
Yes. He's obviously a nice bloke. Got a talented eye. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll definitely be back for more Generations Sports Talk then, now, and beyond. And we will see you then. And I'll catch you guys on the weekend for the live stream in action.
Ahoy, everyone.